we're into it. So, Emily, thanks for coming in
my pleasure.
to our little podcast at the moment. So, it's just nice to have a bit of a chat. And so, tell us what you're doing with yourself now.
Yeah, so obviously it's been a bit of a whirlwind for lots of different people. So for me, I work as a dietitian and a nutritionist, and for most of it, it's very hands-on, a lot of connection, a lot of face-to-face. So for me, it's just kind of been completely spun on its head.
Because where are you working?
So I work for Adelaide Football Club.
That's right,
as their performance dietitian. And then I also work for Tennis Australia with the SA Academy, and then privately with clients where I work one-on-one to achieve their health and fitness goals.
Yeah.
So of course that's a lot of health and fitness, and that's a lot of face-to-face.
One-on-one, completely changed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of adjustment and a lot of learning, which has been great, but it's been a lot you have to do it quickly, and I should have known that yesterday. And so lots of learning new things that you've never learnt before, and adjusting and trying to kind of deal with it the best you can, and try not to put too much pressure on yourself when it's not too perfect. You know?
And that's the hardest thing, because I sort of know myself that you chat to different people, and you're having a wine on a Tuesday night, and then you're out of your comfort because you're not necessarily going to the gym, so you're not as active. And usually when you go to the gym, it sort of encourages you to eat better, and then you're more active, so you're more sort of self-aware. Whereas now, because you're feeling probably a little bit more emotional than you, so you grab in all those comfort food, and then you've had Easter and your wines and things like that. So how is it that, what would be your advice that you could, help to sort of say, how do you stay sort of focused, even if it's just a couple of days during the week, rather than just doing the whole sort of, I
think the first thing to acknowledge is that we are going through quite a stressful time. It's a pandemic. It's something that probably none of us can really experience through, or have really gone through something as life-changing. So I think it's also acknowledging that and saying in this interim it's actually okay if things aren't perfect, and not to put too much pressure on yourself for it to be the same way it was, to have that gym routine, or to have that eating, your meal prep down pat. It's pretty unachievable to be able to sustain that. For some people they can, because their life hasn't been adjusted too much, and they actually find that that's the best thing for them. And everyone's going to be a bit different, but I think it's just not putting too much pressure on yourself for it to be perfect or the way it was. But I guess with that said, you kind of come to a point where you're okay, I need to do something that's maybe a little bit more positive, and I need to make adjustments to my this new life, essentially. And I think my top recommendation would be, as much as you can, try and form a schedule. So don't make it necessarily like what it was. Doesn't mean you need to get up at 5:15 every morning, which I was doing, back when things were a bit more normalised. But now I'm okay, well, I love my sleep, so if I can sleep in a little bit longer, so okay, that's part of my new routine, but do it consistently. So don't be I'm going to get up at 5 and then I'm going to get up at 9. It's okay, no, start to form that routine. And for me, I kind of have my non-negotiables. So for me, I know when I exercise, I just feel really good. And like you say, you start exercising and then it flows on to another positive habit. So I know for me, if I wake up, start the day, start exercising, then I know I'm starting it in the right direction, and I just feel better. And then when it gets to 4 o'clock, I'm oh good, I don't need to worry about it. Whereas if you're I'll do it later, and it's you've just wasted all this energy thinking about that.
And it's about not putting too much pressure on yourself. We were even saying ourselves, just by coming in here where, even if you'd like you say that routine and not creating bad habits that are going to be really hard to get at the end of it.
Exactly.
So we've sort of made a little pack and said, okay, we'll just, try to get up at the same time.
Perfect.
Open the blinds, get the fresh air coming in.
Make the bed,
just to get into that routine and just say, listen, I'm just going to do Monday, Tuesday, and I'm going to try that. And I'm not just talking about wine, but I find that a lot of people are going for that at the moment. But
it's a coping mechanism.
That's
right.
It
makes you feel good.
So if you don't have your wine, then you're going to be more likely that if you've set yourself and said, right, I'm going to exercise, this sort of days, then you'll find that you'll probably get up and go, right, I'm going to exercise tomorrow, so I don't want to sleep in, or it's just creating that habit, because we don't know how long this is going to be for.
I know, so you've got to adjust into what their new routine is like, and don't put pressure on yourself to make it as perfect as what it is. But I guess have those non-negotiables like exercise, and that doesn't mean you have to just bust your ass for you know, an hour workout. So it can just be like a simple stretch for 30 minutes. So for me personally, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. It doesn't have to be every day, but it could be maybe a couple of times a week. But for me, I was like, just 30 minutes every day, and that can be as simple as just going for a gentle stroll around the block, maybe a little stretch, or even I've been getting back on the bike, and like we rode down to the beach and then back, and I was like, do you know what? It's great. Like, just move your body. Like, because I know for me personally, I just feel so much better. And then with that routine, and then with that routine, I find that you actually eat better as well. So one thing that I like getting to the food side of things is, because I didn't really know my schedule, what was happening is I was like getting up, having breakfast, and then I was almost like snacking, and then I like wasn't hungry, so then I wouldn't eat lunch, and then I was just eating all these kind of nibbly foods, and then I was like, I just feel really tired, and I feel really like irritable, and I was like, of course, like you're not actually refueling and setting yourself up like you would on a normal day. And I was like, well, you're still expecting yourself to work the same way you would in the old way, but you're not actually supporting yourself. So then that was a kind of an evolution of how I read the progression of everything.
And it just spirals, doesn't it, into one sort of thing that you go, I'll start tomorrow, or you know, but you think good mood, good food. It's so true. It's just, you know, and some of those simple things, like you say, just sleep is so.
I know.
Sleep,
so important.
Drink water, and just try to eat well and just move your body, because those 4 things can just be seen as like, you know, and we can all do them right now.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know? And like you said, like, it doesn't actually have to be perfect. Like, things that you enjoy, it's really important that you do include them. Like, for me, I think I was talking to you about this earlier, like, I'm just such a chocoholic, and Easter's a very dangerous time for me. And very enjoyable, but dangerous. And so for me, it's like, well, I know that is something that I really enjoy, and it makes me feel calm. And I think, like, at the end of the day, whether that's the wine or the chocolate or, you know, everyone's kind of got their little thing. It's like, make sure you include it, just as long as it's not in amounts that make you feel like you're guilty or it's going to take you away from the bigger picture.
Too much. A little bit of everything.
Absolutely. And I think there's going to be different stages where you feel more in control with that, and then times when you're not. But it's like, if you can do that more than not, then I think that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about that balance and not beating yourself up if you're maybe including those things in a little bit more frequently than you typically would.
So true. So true. So, and I think too that, you know, it's one of those things that we have got some great, you know, there's some great online sort of things that you can do now, and I think by just people sharing their ideas and people are doing recipes and cookings and, you know, all those sorts of things, it definitely helps, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And because we've got a little bit more time, like, you know, we're not driving as much, and, you know, we're kind of staying home a little bit more. You can put a lot of love into your cooking and into trying new things. Exactly. Like I've been making bread. I even tried yogurt. The yogurt didn't really turn out very well.
How'd you do yogurt?
So I'm lucky that I've got a Thermomix, so that does help. But it's really simple. You just literally add some like yogurt that you've got already, and then you just add some milk. And then, but mine's a bit like runny, so I think I need to add some milk powder. But it's really hard to get. It's every time I go to get flour,
like toilet paper.
I know, it's just not there. So I was like, I can't perfect my yogurt just yet. But you know, you've got time to try new things. And I think what's really nice is, like, previously when we're kind of in the grind of everything, we kind of come home and we've probably got those 7 go-to recipes that we would just autopilot and make, and you know, so whereas now we can actually spend that time on cooking and being like, oh, I love this, I'm gonna look up a recipe, gonna try and make it. So then essentially over this period you can fine-tune that, and then you can add 1 to your 7s, and now you've got 8. So that's
so true.
You're kind of using this time to your benefit and kind of enjoying taking that slower pace and taking it.
And we were saying too that, you know, we're only talking about that today, that now's the time to be really creative. So if there's anything that you've ever wanted to do and you've had a burning desire to do it, what have you got to lose?
Oh, absolutely.
You have nothing to lose right now. So if it's, you know, I've seen some of my friends that are completely, some of them are painting, some of them are like baking, some of them have started a new online business, and you think now's a perfect opportunity that you can either do a course online, you can educate yourself, you can write down those things, the things that you've had that time to stop and think, you know, I'm going to make sure that at the end of this, and when I come out of it, that I'm going to make sure I have time to do those things. And one of those things could be, you know, with the cooking and with, you know, if they are creating good habits of being able to take their dog for the walk, and like you say, stretching, keep them going.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so afterwards when you do come out of it, just say, well, if I could do it before, I know that I didn't have work to do, but, you know, I can sort of set my alarm a little bit early because I like the way that I felt. I like that feeling, you know, and like you say, food is mood, isn't it?
I know, and like just factoring it in, I think that's part of it. It's like, you can sometimes get into the routine and you end up doing things just because that's the way it was done.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a really nice time for you to stop and reflect and kind of work out, okay, now moving forward, what you want to do. And I guess you kind of get that feeling, and I'm not sure if you get it as well, like when you go away on holiday and on that flight back home, it's kind of like you're reflecting and you're like, okay, I want to do more of that, because you know when you come back from a holiday, you're feeling all relaxed and really cultured and everything.
Well, you've had time to think, because it's like anything, when you step out of something and you're looking at it from the outer rather than being in it and everything's around you, when you do have that time to sort of step out, you can visually see things better. And I think too, being a business owner, I always have found that when I do step out of a business or step out of anything that I'm doing, I can see clear. But holidays are a huge one. You're at the plane, you got your thing on, your partner's usually beside you, you're probably having your last bit of nibble or whatever, going, right, this is my last, you're looking out the window and you're going, wow, that's going to change a few things. Because you've got time to think about it.
I know, so I'm kind of thinking like, yes, we might have been a tropical location, yes, there might not have been as many beautiful cocktails and things like that, but it's almost like, well, what am I going to take from this slower pace and from stepping outside and like using it as an opportunity to reflect and then like moving forward, like, because eventually things are gonna go back and
they'll be busy and everyone will be like on that rat race again, and it'll be like, wow, so we should enjoy this time now.
Oh, absolutely.
And look at all the things that be more, I think, self-aware and feel those feelings, and just maybe a few little small steps, even if you write them down and write your own sort of journal, to just go, I'm going to change those few things, and now I've got the option, but to do them now instead of waiting to when you get back, because then you're already going to be in, not in training, but it'll just be a habit. It'll just be a habit.
So I think that's really good. I think it is hard though, because the first kind of couple of weeks you're really adjusting, so you can't even have that moment to step outside. Like, it's actually probably more hectic than the normal grind.
And I think too, it's hard because you don't have that motivation right now. So I think when you're busier and you're working, you have that, like, busy people are productive people, whereas when you're not as busy, so whereas we sort of feel like now that, the thought of doing something, if you don't have that motivation and you don't have that energy because you're feeling a bit, off or a bit down, but if you dig deep and you do it, you go, yes, I feel so much better. Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that before, I know.
And almost don't you think you look back onto what you used to do, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a bit nervous, I'm almost like a bit scared to go back. It's a bit strange. I'm like, I feel like,
how did I get all that stuff done?
I don't know, but it's just, it's a bit interesting, like,
What's the biggest change that you feel that you'll probably, from this, and coming out of it, what do you think has probably been the biggest for you?
It's really interesting, because I think, like, with the transition that I had with work, like, work is so much of my life, which I think is a really good thing. Like, I am very motivated and really driven, and I love work. So I think while that is a positive, when everything kind of came to a head, so basically with AFL we were told, everything's on standstill, everything's frozen. So then you're kind of like, okay, well, what does this mean for me? And then almost you lose a bit of your identity, because you're like, well, okay, this is what I do, this is what I'm known for. And so then when that stopped, I was a bit like, you feel really unsettled and like not quite right. So for me, I think what's been a really nice reflection is like still work really, really hard, still progress and be motivated with that, but make sure you get your little side hustle as well, because I think we put so much energy into work that almost we don't balance it ourselves out. And I think I kind of realised that the hard way. And like that, that first week when you come along, like, okay, so now what does this look like? And when you realise you can kind of deal with whatever, eventually you'll get through it. But I think for me, what I'd love to do is like now coming out the other side is like, well, make sure you include those other things, and it's not just work, and it's not just go, and make sure you make the time for those other things as well.
Absolutely. And we did talk about that. We did a video because we talked about that, so many of us with work, businesses, whatever it is, it becomes our identity, and it's us. But when that's all stripped away from you, there's you. And then there's that fact of, what do I like to do?
I know.
What is it that I like? I've been so busy, and I've been so busy just which I love.
Yeah.
But that's the time that you go away and say, if you do have that burning desire to do something or create yourself again, now's the time to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
so,
and then when you come back, know that is just not it's just a job, because it's more than just a job. But your identity can be easily sort of, you know, led of just one thing, which is okay. But I think it's good to because
you do kind of get caught up in the whirlwind of it all, so it's nice to just be like, okay, that is definitely a big part of me and a big key to my identity, but it's not the whole thing.
That's right. That's right.
I'm more than that.
That's right. It's exactly right. It's exactly right.
It's a learning experience.
How long do you think that it'll sort of go on? It's just hard to say.
I don't know. I think it's going to. I kind of had in my head that around June is when I thought things would start to essentially come back. But I must admit, I'm not sure if it's just me trying to be quite positive and optimistic about it, but I'm starting to notice that things are kind of, well, not like changing, but it's like we're on the brink of it. And I think like particularly in South Australia, we're having some really good, you know, productive.
We really are. And I mean, some of the cafes and you know restaurants and things like that are saying that maybe it was early May that there's some of them maybe had open, but maybe only sort of 50%, which is great. And I think that we've all done a really, really good job. And I hope that we've all sort of, you know, it's funny, we talked about with the bushfires how we all came together. I know. And then when this happened, we're all sort of fighting against with toilet paper. But I also think now there's become back this lovely that we were talking, we're up in the hills and we're saying that people are more tolerant on the road, so they're more courteous to let you in.
Patient,
that's right. People have sort of slowed down, so hopefully we can keep that and incorporate a little bit of that. That's why we're saying write those things down. If there's things that you've liked about yourself that you've learned about yourself again and you want to carry that through, it could be more patience, more being in the moment, you know, things of being home with your kids and your husband and things like that, that you've created that sort of new habits to keep them going would be great.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm hoping that it will kind of start to slowly, like obviously we have to be so careful about how we do that, and I think almost like I feel a bit anxious about like, oh, do you jump the gun and then you're like, oh no, now I'm back. So I think SA will probably be a bit more progressive. Just we're really lucky that we've got lots of space, so things like that physical distancing is easy to adopt, and you know, so we've been able to have those positive outcomes, and I think, like I said, everyone's actually respected the fact that we need to follow that. So I hope that, like, you know, even in the next few weeks that we're starting to, like you say, see a couple of things, whether that's in the cafes and stuff,
definitely,
or just more like obviously still being safe, but doing just a little bit more, and then hopefully it can just trickle in bit by bit, and then next thing you know, we're almost, you know, there. But if I think about from an international point of view, I think we're a long way from that.
Travel and
if you think about international travel, like I don't think we'll be going on holidays for a long, long time, which obviously is very saddening. But then it's like, well, no, actually, maybe this is an opportunity to relax in our own state, or you know, whether that's Australia and everything like that.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, so true.
You know, SA will be progressing really nicely.
And it'll be great for us as well too, because then we can start to visit some places in South Australia that we haven't been. I know. Like Robe and Kangaroo Island and Great Ocean Road and all these wonderful places, so we can really, as a country, all come together, which is amazing.
Oh, absolutely, which is probably what, like...
Because there's so many of us as Australians, but I've never been to Kangaroo Island. I know. We've been there, but you know, some people go, and I go, you've never been to KI, but it's like... But you don't, you've usually done the big travel and...
Absolutely. You know, and it's like, this is the time where we do need to come together and support each other. Like, Australia has been through an absolute, like, a horrible 2020. So it's like, well, this is the time where we shouldn't be going and spending our money over in the Greek Islands. We should be spending it here in our own backyard. And yes, I know I'm an absolute lover of summer. But it's like, okay, well, you know, you can still enjoy yourself and still get everything you want out of it. And
Adelaide, I mean, I love the girls. Lauren and Hayley, I love you. They share some amazing places that you can go to. Like, even now when we open, I mean, there's so many places that you can go to, which is just great.
I know. So it's like kind of opening your eyes up to that rather than just going
autopilot to go overseas. So, so
it'll be good. Something like a fun new experience that you've never done before as well.
Nice, so good. Thanks for coming in.
No,
doing our little podcast, and we're just having a bit of fun with it. But I think that the whole sort of eating well and feeling good and just doing the best that you can, and I do think that now, if you can dig deep, think as positive as you can, you know, and that's what we're sharing with everyone. We're sort of coming in here and doing our thing, and I think that it's really nice for all of us all to come together and just do what you need to do to get through it. There's no right or wrong. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. It's just doing what you need to do to get through it, and one day at a time is really going to make that difference.
Don't strive for that perfection. I think like that's the issue that a lot of people have, is like you want it to be perfect, and even when we go back to, I guess, some sense of normality, even then, like nothing's ever going to be perfect. So even if you're just taking one thing away from just this chat, it's like, well, one positive thing that you can implement in your day. It doesn't mean it needs to be 100% perfect, but just think doing that is going to be better than not doing anything at all.
And so, just to start.
Yeah, just
it's
to
like
start.
we sort of talk about it too. It's like don't wait for the Monday. Just start today, and it could be that small thing of like. When my husband and I have pasta, my husband is Jamaican, half Jamaican, half Dutch, and he's a caveman. So he loves meat and potatoes. Right? For me to get him to get any salad, it's like, nah.
It's a good day.
No. So, but when we have pasta, I'll do my roasted vegetables, and then I'll put my sauce on there, and then he'll do his veggies. So it's small things, and I'll still have a wine, I still do my my cheese and whatever, but making those small little things without beating myself up, and I might have a bit of chocky afterwards, but I can't do that and that and that. So
absolutely.
It's taking just that one little bit away, which does make a difference.
Exactly. It's just that more positive thing. It's like, well, will I feel better by doing this? And it's like, yes, okay, I'm not depriving myself.
No,
I'm still
that's
enjoying
right.
everything. It's like,
and your body's going to change,
exactly.
but if it's just do the best that you can. So,
exactly, and just try and like minimize as much damage or minimize as much change, as in, so essentially when we go back we're not then overwhelmed, because I think that is a risk, is that people kind of adapt into this and maybe we'll like, I'll deal with it later, and then when eventually they have to, it's almost too much. So it's like, no, okay, start to come up with your healthy schedule, or your
little
healthy
changes every now and then, even if it's during the week, but nothing drastic.
Absolutely.
Can make a big difference.
And I think people always say balance, but balance really is key, and actually live by it. It's like have that balance. Don't be all or nothing. It's like just incorporate it, and don't,
because I think that's when your binge comes into it. If you can't give yourself like a balance of a little bit of this or a little bit of that, you'll end up binging on it because you feel so deprived. You just, when you do get it, you just like,
because it's like when people make rules about food, saying like they're good foods and they're bad foods. It's like, no food is good or bad. Some you should have more because they nourish you and they fuel you and they keep you energized. And others, they're not bad, they have a purpose, they provide enjoyment, they're a celebration, those types of things. But we don't need them all the time, because if we have them all the time, they're going to take the place of the good stuff, and then you're going to be out of balance and out of whack. So I think it's just like having that mentality. It's absolutely fine to include those things, but just be in control of them, and then know when you need to kind of rein it in, like me post-Easter. Have a little chat to myself.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's that self-talk stuff.
Absolutely. It's all just a bit of a journey, and like, I think you just reflect and be like, well, if I was to do that again, would I do it differently? Yes, no. Okay, if I was to do it differently, then okay, next time I'll do that. Don't beat yourself up about it being perfect, because no one really is perfect. And if you are, then it's going to come falling down eventually. I think.
And that's the thing too, isn't it? I sort of think if you choose to weigh your food and do it, that's great, but you got to do what works for you.
Absolutely, everyone's so individual, and it's like, essentially, if weighing your food's going to make you feel like, okay, I'm putting my
portion sizes
and then great, do that. But if it's going to make you feel really anxious and like you're obsessing over something, then it's like, that doesn't serve you. Get rid of it, or it's not going to help you. So that's where that, like you said, that self-reflection, being like, okay, what's actually going to benefit me, what's going to serve me, what's going to be positive for me. Continue that. The things that aren't, just try
and it'll be easier to continue, because it's not too like
such a big
too
change.
hard. It's too much of a change,
Exactly.
So it's a lifestyle.
For sure. Just those small little incremental changes, I think, are the best thing. And try where possible, like if you're feeling like you're feeling really out of whack, and then just starting something really small and then just incorporating it, and then next thing you know, you look back and it's actually been a habit and you've been doing that. So whether that's like your sleep, for example, so trying to wake and go to bed at the same time is just such an important thing. Or like I said, drinking water. Like I've been absolutely shocking at drinking water, and I don't know what, like it just must be the new change. I'm not carrying my drink bottle around because I'm kind of at home, so I'm relying on the glasses and stuff like that. But I'm almost like, oh, I've got a headache, and I'm like, oh, that's because you
dehydrated.
Exactly. You've gone and exercised, and you haven't even like replaced half of what you've lost while you've been sweating.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. It's so true.
That's something I need to work on.
Constant. It's a constant thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's always going to be different things that you kind of need to put your attention towards. So just kind of having those little focus points, and then okay, well, actually, I might need to come back to this, and that's fine. It's like I said, nothing's ever really going to be perfect. So just kind of work as best you can with what you're given.
So true, so true. And let's face it, like you said, we've never been through anything like this before. So it's like, but I see it. Like I think when things like this happen, you build resilience.
Oh, for sure.
And resilience is the best gift that you can give to yourself, because if you've got good resilience, you just everything else is just so much easier to deal with. So
it's the same, isn't it? Because you're kind of like, oh, it's such a hard time when it happens, but you're like, I know I will get through, and then I'll look back, and then you've got the confidence to be like, well, anything that really comes my way, I can actually, I can get through it. Like,
and if something bad happens like that again, you'll go, what did I do to get through last time? And what didn't help me to get through last time? So then you sort of put that into the new part and go, that's I know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do
this. Yeah, exactly. I can do this. I like this pandemic thing. Not really.
No, not really. No, we'll just keep rolling with that. No, thank you. And follow Emily Hartley on Instagram. I just absolutely think you're amazing. We love your protein balls, just FYI. That you brought in. Christy and I were like, these are good.
Yeah, good. I have to make some more now that I've got more time. So.
Absolutely. And you did a little yoga retreat as well, a little yoga to raise money, which was just amazing.
Yeah, that was great. That was a really wonderful opportunity that I had just before, thank God I got in. But just to raise money for a great charity, and a good time to just bring the community together for a great cause. So I guess I was really lucky that we were able to come together physically for that. No doubt we could have done it on Zoom, but you
just got in.
We just got in, so it was lovely. It was up at Mount Osman, which is just such a beautiful place.
The photos were fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. It was like, when you're like, thank God, the weather was just beautiful.
If I wasn't moving, I would have been there.
yeah, exactly. You poor thing. That was a different weekend for you.
It's crazy. That was crazy. We'll keep doing you, and thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll chat soon.
Sounds good. See ya.